Welcome to the Mentally Strong Podcast. I'm Colin Sutherland. Join me on my journey as I explore and discover all there is to know about living well with multiple sclerosis. I'm a normal guy who was recently diagnosed and started treatment. I will share with you my conversations with others who are living with this chronic condition and with professionals who provide resources and advice. My hope is to gain inspiration and ideas to improve your life. In today's episode of Mentally Strong, we look at the challenges families are facing when a loved one has multiple sclerosis. My guest today played a big role in encouraging me to launch this podcast, and she's the perfect guest for the first episode. We've never actually met, and today will be our first conversation that isn't via text, so there is some good in social media. We're both a part of the Echelon spin bike community, and I happened to listen to an episode of the super excellent, not too serious Bike That Goes Nowhere podcast, and she was the guest. When you hear her story, you'll understand why I reached out, why she inspires others with how she lives her life, and in my opinion, who wouldn't want to have someone like her in your corner? Daphne, welcome to the podcast.
I'm like, I don't want to get too loud. Thank you for having me. That was amazing.
I could start a career in intros.
You really should. That was really nice. That was really nice.
And well-deserved.
Oh, it means the world to me. When you reach out to me, oh my gosh, you don't understand. It really does. It's just, you never know when you're sharing your truth, or just in just general and just having a conversation. You don't know who's listening or who and how people are taking things in. So it was really nice when you reached out and you feel comfortable enough to do that.
Well, I wouldn't say I felt comfortable.
Okay.
I did it anyway.
Oh, you did it anyway, right. Well, I'm glad you took the chance. How about that?
No, that's more accurate. And I am too, because it's really worked out, because if I hadn't, we would not be here.
Right. Absolutely. So here we are.
So
on a podcast. Go ahead.
I know, eh? So tell the listeners a little bit about you. Obviously, I built you up, but that's okay.
So my name is Daphne Palacio. I am AKA Spin Diva in the Echelon community. I am a mother of 7.5-year-old twins. I'm a special education teacher. I've been doing that almost 19 years now. So all I've ever wanted to do was be a teacher. As a special place in my heart for helping struggling learners, because I felt like I was a struggling learner when I was young. I've been married now for 14 years about. We just had an anniversary. You'd think I would remember that. And so my husband has multiple sclerosis. And we found out the year that we were engaged. So here I am. And so, throughout the community, I have met some amazing people in Echelon community and coming to you. So here we are.
So how long has your husband had MS?
So let me go there. So my husband found out, we got married in 2010. During the engagement, he would say to me when we were engaged, my toes are tingling, or he would have like some discomfort in his feet. Sometimes he would like trip. And so he says, that he thought he had maybe a pinched nerve because he had a car accident before we met. So I asked him to go see my doctor. And my doctor sent him to a neurologist, who then told him he had multiple sclerosis. And up until this point, I actually had never heard of multiple sclerosis. I had no idea of any of it. And promise you, no lies, I was picking up my wedding dress. And it's about the week before we were about to say I do in Florida. We were going to fly down. And he calls me. He was leaving the neurologist and says, yeah, they said I have something called multiple sclerosis. And I was like, okay, well, we'll deal with that when we come back. And that was pretty much how it went down, because neither one of us really had an idea of what was happening. We didn't really understand it. We were fairly, I guess, young-ish, maybe like mid to late 20s, I would say, or 30s rather. So like 27-ish, and but I had just never really encountered it or heard too much about it. So, and he hadn't either. So I don't know if the doctor explained everything to him, but he just told me that all he told me was that the doctor said this. And I said, okay, well, we'll do it when we come back. So we had taken salsa lessons and we went down to Florida and we did the wedding and we did, we did the whole thing. It wasn't until, so that was 2010. And so the first couple of years, I didn't really take it seriously, I want to say. Neither one of us did. He went to his doctor here and there, but it wasn't until maybe like year 2 or 3 where I went with him to the doctor. Maybe like by year 2, I went with him to the doctor. And the doctor was like, oh, I'm so glad that you're here. Because he would go sometimes and I would say, hey, so how did it go? Everything is good. All right. But he wouldn't really give me, he's a man of few words, so I didn't get too much details. And so one day I said, you know what, I'm going to go with you. And so I did. And that's when the reality hit of what we were dealing with. And the doctor said, well, I'm glad that you're here. I feel like he hasn't really been taking this seriously. And it was in good timing because the doctor at the time was also about to retire. So at this point now, it was time for us to now find a new doctor. And so he sent him to a new doctor, and I went with him to those appointments, but we didn't like that doctor in particular myself. I really wasn't a fan. And so I did some homework and found him another doctor. And so I think it took us about maybe 2 tries after that, but he's been pretty good for a long while now, about maybe more than 5 years now. Oh, way more than 5 years. I want to say maybe 7 or 8. But it was a lot going on within the first 5 years of our marriage because I also had to do IVF. I was trying to get pregnant. So we were buying a house and I was trying to get pregnant and I was doing a lot of procedures and all, different things going on with my body. So it was me trying to kind of help him with his. And then at the same time, then I began my own journey. I was a big girl. I was about 250 pounds when we first met. By the time I got married, I kind of came down to maybe a little bit under 200. But trying to do a couple of, things to myself, change my diet, to regulate hormones and different things. And at the same time, trying to be there for my husband and understand what he was going through. So again, to answer your question, because I'm going off in the whole history, but he's had it, we've known since 2010.
So you mentioned when you went to the doctor with your husband, you realized it was serious. So what was the reality check? Or what did he say, or what did you learn that you went, oh, okay, now this is serious?
Well, for me, the reality check was, I'm not sure for him, but for me, for sure, it was that I have to be more involved. I had to go with him to the doctors. I had to ask the questions. As I said, before, he is a man of few words. And I found, because we even had to go to like a urologist, we went to different types of doctors. And if he went by himself, he wouldn't ask them follow-up questions. He would come home and ask the questions or think about it later. So I'm more in the moment. I'm asking all of the questions, embarrassed or not, I don't care. And I think, I don't know, so maybe for him, maybe, I don't know if he was embarrassed or maybe he didn't want to ask, but again, he would come home and it would be almost no answers. So I said, you know what? I have to be more involved. I have to go with him, support him, talk to the doctors, ask all the questions, find out what I can do on my end, because I wasn't sure how serious maybe he was taking it or how much he was taking in. I wasn't sure what was happening. He also is not really good at sharing his feelings and things. So, I really wasn't sure, but I just knew for me as a wife, I now have to get more involved. So by the time he got to the final doctor, which he currently has, I'm actually really good friends with the doctor's secretary. So I can call and say, hey, this is Daphne, girl. How you doing? And she goes, oh, hey. Because they're at this point, they already know me. I'm like, I think that Victor needs A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Oh, yeah, I think we could do that. That's how it is. Like that. Like I'm that cool with the secretary and the doctor that, I would try to go with him to the doctors. If I couldn't go, I would be on FaceTime. and I would ask the questions or watch or see what was happening, and I'm gonna tell you particularly the moment where it was an aha for me was we were at a doctor, and I remember exactly why we were there. So we get there, we sit down, and the doctor's like, okay, so what's the problem? Or something to that nature. And he was like, yeah, everything's good. And I was like, no, it's not. Like, I had to be the one to say things. And he was like, yeah, I'm good. No, like we have to we came here for a reason. Let's say what it is, You ever see it's like people who I have a friend who goes to her regular doctor and she has puts on makeup and gets dressed up. There's people that do that, right? That they get all dressed up just to go to the doctor. And I'm like, but you're going to the doctor. What does it matter? But I have a friend that really does that. And I feel like if he was a woman, it might have been like something to that nature where it's like, yeah, no, I'm good. No, like, so I would be the one that would go and put things on the table and say, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm noticing. One simple thing that happened where I noticed certain things with him, and I had to tell the doctor because he wouldn't. And the doctor says, oh, that's a simple fix. He just needs to drink more water. And I was like, okay, I can work with that. But how would I have known that if we don't put it on the table? You know what I'm saying? So I've learned that with him and just in general with anybody, even with yourself in general, that's what the doctors are there for. People go and I guess I don't know if they're embarrassed to tell the doctor anything or to let them see, but I feel like that's what they're there for. So that was an aha moment for me where, like I said, I was like, no, I'm coming with you because you're not saying everything. I can see you're not saying everything, and then when you're not asking all the questions. So that was where I started to come in and try to push a little bit, help him a little bit more or support more.
When would you
And
say
that
it
might not be
really started to affect him at home?
so throughout the process of getting to know multiple sclerosis, I did not know that there was like progressive and then there's not progressive, right? So then they
Mm-hmm.
have all these medications that can help MS, but none of them at the time really were for progressive. They just maybe have maybe one or two now, I think, but they're more on the recent years for progressive MS. And so progressive, if people don't know, just simply means that, it's just going to over time get worse, lack of better term, but that's how I understood it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has progressive MS. So again, took me the 5 years of trying to support him, get to know the MS better, go with him to the doctors. But at the same time, I'm doing IVF and trying to lose weight and getting acupuncture and just doing all the things that I need to do for myself to try to conceive. And he, so yes, in that 5 year period. So then the kids came, and when we finally had the twins, that's when I really started to notice it more. So over the 5 year course, he went from being able to walk, maybe needing a little, like I bought him like a foldable cane here and there, things of that nature. But by the time the kids came, he was actually able to leave the hospital with one of the kids, because one was in the NICU, but one in his hand. And because that was a big thing for him, proud
Mm-hmm.
dad, I want to walk out of the hospital holding my baby. And so he was able to do that. But he's gotten to a point where he's gone from, like I said, he danced at the wedding, walked out of the hospital with the kids at the 5 year mark. And maybe about a year or two after that is when he had to change over to having the two crutches. So he has those crutches that kind of go around your arm,
Okay.
and he has those crutches, right? So he has transitioned to those now. And then over about a year and a half ago, I got him a wheelchair. He was reluctant, but I was able to convince him to get the wheelchair because we have two 7-year-olds, and sometimes we want to go to parks or we want to do different things, and I'm always trying to encourage him to get out and be with us and all of that. So I said, I'll push you and we'll just make it work. So that's where we are right now.
Okay. So are the kids asking questions? Because they're pretty young.
So good question. My daughter, I don't think she knows that something's up with that. I don't know if she knows the terminology. She's definitely almost kind of used to it, like second nature. She'll make comments here and there, but she doesn't ask too many questions. Coincidentally, my son, on the other hand, he's autistic and he's nonverbal, so he just knows that daddy can't catch him. Because he's tries to test daddy. He tries to test them. But my daughter here and there, she'll ask questions, but nothing too serious for the most part. She just
And
knows that it's daddy. I think they're still young. And so for them, it's still kind of on that innocent side where that's just how daddy is, you know?
yeah, I mean, most of us don't understand it now at an older age, let alone trying to understand this illness at age 7.
Right. Right.
Let them keep their
So
innocence for sure.
for sure. And so that's where I am. It's a lot for her to take on because I also have to explain to her about her brother sometimes and how come he doesn't speak, and so little spurts we give it to her here and there. But I want her to enjoy, as you said, her innocence and her childhood. So and she seems, and this is like the norm for her, so she's good with it.
So I don't know how you put this into words, but what has been the effect on the family?
It's been hard when I guess the reality eventually started to set in with the cane and then now the crutches over time. For me, I always tell people the hardest part for the marriage has not been the disability, it's been the emotional toll.
Mm-hmm.
I always worry for him in that respect because, again, he's not one who lets out a lot. I'm always trying to encourage him to talk to me or talk to somebody, or do if something makes you happy. He had a car for a while, and he can drive, actually, funny enough, even though he has a hard time walking. For whatever reason, he's an excellent driver. And for a long time, he had a car, and we didn't really need 2 cars, but that was his joy. He decided eventually that he was
Mm-hmm.
going to give it up, but I would never have said to him, we don't need 2 cars, you got to get rid of this car, because I know that that was what made him happy, and that was like his thing. So the emotional part of dealing with it is the hard part. No, I don't wouldn't say, as for right now with the kids, because they're still in that innocent stage, they're the light of the house, they're that buffer, right? They
Yeah.
kind of just make everything happy and fabulous, and everything is about them, so it kind of is a distraction from the reality that this is hard on him and hard on us both.
Yeah, that's a lot for anyone. So
Yeah.
have you discovered any resources to give you support, or are you guys supporting yourself, or is it mainly coming from the doctor? Is it
I have not yet. I've tried to throw him. I will say thank you to you for anything that you throw at me, because I kind of throw it in his direction also, as far as maybe a podcast. I actually had another friend from Echelon who she shares like some books and that she likes to read, like encouragement type of books. And so I try to share those with him. I try to encourage him, to maybe some therapies or to physical therapy or any of the things that but even to work out at my house. I have all of the Echelon equipment, so I try to encourage him to either use the bike or the rower, even if it's to walk on the stride. So I just try to continue to do that, but that's as much as I can do, and I will leave it there. We can only do what we can, and that's the hard part. And even as I said, I'm friends with the secretary for the doctor, and I've called her sometime to say, hey, do you guys have any support groups or anything that you can throw this way? And so, I just try to keep doing my best at throwing things that way, and hopefully maybe someday something will stick or show some interest.
no, for sure. I can speak on the bad days where I can understand there's resistance from his side, because there's some days where it's like I don't want to do anything either. Like I can totally
Right.
get that. I don't know if I'm going to do a recap for people who are listening. She teaches special ed. She has twins. One is autistic, and she has a husband who has multiple sclerosis, who she's trying to support. How are you staying sane? that
Working
might,
out.
yeah, that might have been a poor choice of words, but I'm going with it.
No, no, but it's valid. But it's valid. I can't tell you how many people ask me the same, how do you do it? And I'm like, I don't know. I started my workout journey because when I was a big girl, I wanted to have kids when I met him. And so one of the things that they said to me was, well, you're overweight and my hormones were off. And so that was what was one of the barriers. And so the doctor, the first thing she said to me, you want to get your hormones together, you need to lose some weight and work out and get yourself a little healthy. And I said, okay. So I started that journey. And by the time I reached the 5 years into the marriage when I had the twins, I was full on in. I went from 250 to about 135 pounds. I was actually too thin. I'm 150 now, but I went like, when you ever look at a picture of yourself and you're like, I'm either too big or too thin, and people are telling you sometimes, oh, you're too thin. But I didn't listen to anybody until I saw a picture of myself and I said, oh, I was too skinny. So I want to go back to that. But anyway, I did this whole workout thing because I wanted to have the kids. I had the kids and realized that I fell in love with fitness. And so now, after they came, I think by the time they hit about 6 months, I was back in the gym. And then the pandemic came and I had to figure out how I was going to work out. So I started with Echelon. I started doing it at home. And I did not realize for a minute, no one ever said to me that working out would be so important for not only your physical health, but also your emotional and your mental health. I feel sometimes so strong, like I just feel like there's almost nothing I can't handle. If somebody like even the contest that I got into, I didn't say, "Oh, I can't do this." I'm just like, "Okay, I can do it, sure." Like I'm just willing to try things and open-minded, meeting people. It's just I don't know. It just has really taken a toll way more than the physical part for me. It's that's my mental health, really, really and truly. That's when you see me dancing on my bike. That's my happy place. And when I'm done with that, I promise you, Callum, I can work out. I work out now in the mornings, maybe 2 hours every morning. And when I'm done, I'm too tired to argue with anybody. I'm too tired to fight. I'm just like, okay. Like it's the endorphins. You're just like, all right, it's really, really just it's something else. I don't know, but that's me. That's what I think it is. That's what I think is my therapy.
I had anticipated that answer. and, and I sort of wish this wasn't audio only. So we could have a picture of you dancing on the bike for those that aren't part of the Echelon community that are listening. And the second one was you posted your before picture not too long ago, and I was almost going to challenge you on that. I'm like, that has to be your sister, cousin. And then when you said it was you, I'm like, okay, like
When I
totally,
was
totally different human.
Yeah, when I went to my junior high school prom, my mom bought me a size 16 dress. I still have it in my closet as a reminder. I'm not lying. And I'm currently like between a 4 and a 6 depending on the day. So it's been something. It's really been something. But again, for me now, I've gotten to a point where it's so much more than the physical. I mean, I love the physical part of it also, thank God. I'm like, sometimes, thank God I work out because, I mean, when I had the twins, I would have one here and one here. My son, he does not stop eating. He's a growing boy. He is about 85 pounds, and I can carry him, so I can actually proudly say I can pick up my 85-year-old 85-pound 7.5-year-old child if I wanted to, So, and I'm proud of that.
You should be.
I'm proud of that. So, yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I really, it really means so much to me. It's a deal. It's not for me. It's not a deal. Like it's not a. There's no deal breaker. I will say that in the beginning of the marriage, my husband, you're always in the gym and this and that, and that has for me I didn't realize, and even more now after the pandemic and as things go on, that's not a deal. I'm not parting with that. Like that's what comes with me. I take my 2 hours, I work out. If I want to sometimes in the afternoon as well, I will work out, but that is what I need. And then I can do and be mom and be the wife and be the teacher and be the daughter because my parents call me all the time and be the sister and anything else that somebody needs me to be. But I need to be me and do what I need to do for me first.
Yeah,
I always
I
say that
think
we all need have a selfishness.
You have to put your own airbag or air mask on first. That's what they say on the airplane, right? So
Yes, absolutely.
I think a lot of people hear about working out and they think vanity reasons, and they're missing the boat on the mental health aspect of it, because it is I mean, vanity's nice, but mental health is the reason I work out. It's the reason I joined the community. And I can say over
I
the
love
past 3 or 4 months, it's been a saving. It saves me just clearing my head.
I'm so happy to hear you say that. I really
Well, when
am,
you're
because
on the
I think
bike
that you're
sometimes and they're kicking your ass, you can't think about anything else anyway. So it's just survival mode at that
I
point.
it's so true. It's so true. Now I've gotten into running because I got the stride over the summer. Never thought that I was a runner. Now these people have me running, and I mean, I did a run this morning with Sam, and I thought I was gonna die. I'm like, but but when you're done, it's the when I'm done feeling, right? When you're done,
Yeah.
like you said, at the time you can't think of anything else. They're kicking your butt, right? Why am I doing this? Oh my gosh! But when you're done, you're like, whoa, I did that, right? And I could just feel the steam.
And you do feel better.
Yes.
So
Yes,
just to be
absolutely.
clear for everyone who's listening, who's not from Echelon, we're not trying to sell you anything Echelon. Uh,
No, no.
no, her and I, that's what we use for our mental health and I won't say surviving, but to deal with the stresses that come with life.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely. So any workout, a walk in the park or a run, everybody's different. Some people love yoga, Pilates, just anything, that's going to give you that calm and that peace.
yeah, you need to find a way to deal with the stress in a positive way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So one last question for
I'm
you.
okay.
You meet somebody tomorrow, they tell you their spouse was just diagnosed with MS. What do you
Mhm.
say to them?
I say,
Buy an Echelon?
I know, right? No, I was actually going to say to get involved, right? Be there. I know that sometimes my husband will say, but you don't understand because you don't have it. And I get that. I don't have it. I don't feel those bad days that you guys feel. But when I say get involved, like learn from my experience of having to go to the doctor and ask all the questions and find out the support and whatever it is that is going to help. If you have to go to some kind of group session or therapy or the doctor, be there. Be there. I don't, who wants to do that alone anyway? And if you have somebody in your family, just don't let them do it alone and or think that they're alone. And also that way you know how to help on the good days or the bad days. It's particularly on the bad days. Or try to help. We're never gonna always get it. And I know that. But we can try our best. And I think the best way to do that is to be involved, ask all the questions, go to the doctors. I mean, just live it with them if you can.
That's excellent advice coming from someone who's been living it for the past 14 years. Daphne, you've been an amazing guest. I'm so grateful for coming on and joining me on my first episode of Mentally Strong. If you, the listener, have enjoyed this episode, please like, share, subscribe, drop some comments, send Daphne a message. I really believe the way she's living her life and supporting her family is inspiring, and I hope people who listen walk away with some tidbits. The podcast is going to drop every 2 weeks, so I will see you in 2 weeks. And until then, stay strong.